we're now at a point where science is instructing children that they can just choose their own sex. Yeah, talk about not believing your own eyes. Don't.
How does this always come back to trans people, you know? Again, I like, you know, my sincerest apologies, trans folk, on the behalf of us silly cis. I don't know why the right specifically has to make everything about you. It's so profound. Like, they are obsessed. There's just, you can't finish the sentence without, and how does this relate to trans people? Not Candace? Yes, it's time for some Candace Owens. Because, again, apparently modern Satanists are convincing you that evolution is real. It's a real thing, evolution. Yes. And this one, again, I don't know if the right are just regressing in real time into this little, like, weird corner. I hope it is just kind of like a very insular thing. Because I was really pissed off when Bill Nye the Science Guy decided to debate that weird creationist guy who made the Ark about evolution. I was like, we're so far past this. Again, we don't have debates about the benefits of whether or not we should be doing bloodletting, if we should apply leeches to the body to remove ghosts. We don't do that because we're beyond that, right? Like most people at this point. Like, there's no point in having a flat earth debate if you have any kind of prestige whatsoever, right? Like, a scientist should not sit down and have to sit across the room from someone who's like, I've seen it, I did my research online, there's no such thing. And like, you shouldn't have to sit there and be like, oh, okay, well, I want to explain a really simple concept to you. Shadows. just gonna explain to you how shadows, how they work and why they work and how that actually but no, you don't need to do that. Same thing I would hope for evolution at this point. But there is still a very large subset, I think, and a very large percentage of Americans who don't believe that evolution is real and are starting to shit all over evolution. And you'll hear the same kind of stuff, right? The God of Gaps thing, in that there's not enough you know, evolutionary demonstratable sets of bones that we have, that we've been able to collect, that show one animal that has evolved from another. And there's not, like, insofar as many times as you show us that, I can always show you that there is, again, a missing piece, right? There's always that missing link. Where's the missing link? And then they'll discover it, and then they'll want to find another missing link, or they'll say like, oh, well, apparently we have common ancestors, and they want to tell us that. But at the same time, chimps still roam the earth, right? Which is an argument you'll see a lot of people who are anti-evolutionary put out. And it's like, it's not that it was like chimp then human. That's not, they're saying that we share a common ancestor, and then we've diverted from that evolutionary chain. But evolution and learning about evolution is so profoundly beautiful when you realize how interconnected you are with every single living human being and an animal on this earth, and that just the very atoms that fuse and form the cells that make up our bodies, you know, like all of that kind of stuff. Those same atoms were forged once inside of a star billions of light years away in a process called nucleosynthesis, and the entire planet is inhabited by not just star children but star puppies and star dolphins, and we're a whole galaxy of star animals created and forged in other parts of the universe. It's all just fascinating and beautiful, and it connects us once again to all existence from the moment of the Big Bang until now, right? That same combination of helium, of oxygen, all the stuff, like, it's all beautiful, profoundly, and honestly, it's more spiritual and connecting to you know, something that is deeply and intrinsically just spellbinding to me, the same way some people seem to feel about religion or a burning bush or you know, Muhammad flying on a winged horse, all that kind of stuff. For me, learning about how the way the universe actually works and how interconnected everything is to each other, it is so profoundly beautiful, and it's bizarre and weird and complex, and the more you learn about it, the more fascinating it becomes. But that is awesome. And teaching that evolution is fake is not. It's just kind of weird.
Could you imagine just like the story of man here? Like, it just really, we have a creator, right? We have a Bible that tells us the story of exactly what happened. And then it takes some modern Satanists to come around and to convince you that actually you're from an ape. No, like they're like, this is science. It's science, guys. You come from apes. You were an Australopithecus, and then you were like, oh, and then one day you started walking.
She knows all the terms too, right? Like, I don't think she believes this. I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, she like, Candace Owens is many things, but she is like, she is very, very astute and articulate. She's a good public speaker, and she's more intelligent than a lot of people give her credit. She knows how to play the game, and right now she's doing a really good job of carving out this very lucrative position for herself within kind of like this kind of anti-Semitic groyper, like far right Christian, hyper Christian evangelical space.
Erect, Homo erectus, you started walking around, and now you can speak, and the chimps are still
grifting,
here,
yes.
and you share a DNA with them. You come from monkeys. And there are people that believe that because trust the science, right? They polluted our bodies every single day. We understand this. We're literally being mass poisoned by the same government that is rinsing the population with this atheism, with this atheist ideology, while convincing people to believe in themselves. You can be your own God. We're now at a point where science is instructing children that they can just choose their own sex. Yeah, talk about not believing your own eyes. Don't.
How does this always come back to trans people? Again, my sincerest apologies, trans folk, on the behalf of us silly cis. I don't know why the right specifically has to make everything about you. It's so profound. Like, they are obsessed. You can't finish the sentence without. And how does this relate to trans people? Wheat, beer, Bud Light, Kid Rock, trans people, got there. Yeah, but Bud Light, trans juice. Yeah, we did it, and you're just like, what? So apparently, anyways, the same people that literally poison you, that have been poisoning your food, the government, I think, is the bad guy here, but the same big bad people who have been poisoning you and literally poisoning your food are also poisoning your mind with atheism, with this idea of non-believing to turn you personally into a god king. Yes, you can become the word king from Dune if you try hard enough and you just truly don't believe. As long as you don't believe strongly enough, you can eventually achieve your ultimate form.
Don't even believe your own body. What do you want? Science can make it happen. And still, people did not believe that we were fighting Satan. They did not believe that this was the devil. They just thought that these were just some human beings that were getting it wrong. Like, there's no huge plot. There's no huge conspiracy. You're a conspiracy theorist if you understand what it is that they are doing, right? The people that are speaking about this are...
This has limited appeal, by the way. Like, there is certainly going to be for a while, I suppose, a very large percentage of people who are now tuning in to Candace Owens and her particular brand of anti-LGBTQ plus bigotry, because she's also very aggressively one of the people who is both anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist, right? Like, she's basically the Jackson Hinkle kind of corners of the internet, where she both hates Israel because she also, I believe, hates Jewish people, just as a generality kind of thing. But like it does have limited appeal, right? Like the groyper side of the internet, the far right side of the internet, who are deeply, like, this is essentially appealing really to hardcore Christian nationalists, right? Like, in the hardcore Christian nationalist audience, where it's basically just like, we're going to get real conspiratorial with it and real medieval with it. There's going to be a lot of like, this is more than what you believe. This is actually literally Satan and Satanism and Satan playing out in such a way that it's trying to teach you not to believe kind of shit.
Are routinely being condemned. And I understand why. I totally and completely understand why that is, because it takes a lot. It took a lot for me. I had to really commit myself to a long period of research to truly believe that it is plausible that this world is being run by a very small group of elite oligarchs who routinely practice homosexuality and pedophilia, and who believe in Baphomet as a deity, and who worship a transgendered deity. That's a lot, actually.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, but hey, why not? Okay, so secret cabal of homosexual pedophiles who worship a trans god, who are using their secret pedophile powers to poison everyone, literally poisoning the food while also poisoning the minds with atheism, while worshiping a god, but also atheist, not worshiping any gods. Yep. Checks out.
I'm saying it right now. It's like, wow, that sounds really crazy, but it's happening in front of you. And I'm showing you what these people actually believe. I'm pointing you to books that you can read to understand where and when and how this happened, to prove to you that these people have never been out of power, and that the elites have always practiced these sexual rituals. They've always believed in this. Throughout every modern society and ancient society, we had this battle going on. Now it's time for you to wake up.
Yeah. I mean, like, there has been just the nonstop crusade against human sexuality and enjoying human sexuality, and specifically women enjoying any form of sexuality at all, or sexual experience, from Puritan Christians. That's been, like, you know, a long time, then trying to control that and trying to control everyone's business. Let's just say that. That's unfortunate. The shitty thing about going after evolution, though, is that, like, we should really be teaching more people to just understand the sheer and complex beauty of the evolutionary process. Because once you start to realize all these little things, it all becomes so fascinating how interconnected we are. Like mammals, for example, we all share similar bone structure. And if you look at the different bones between different mammals, they get reappropriated for different things. Like bats, for example, and the way their wings are in the same way, different elements of our own hands. And horses, for example, it looks like they have just one giant hoof, but that's actually just like one giant toe, because again, we all have the same similar bone outline, and then they have these little vestigial nubs where the rest of the fingers would be from them evolving in that direction. It's all profoundly fascinating that we're all just completely interconnected with every other living creature on this planet, and that we're also interconnected with the very same atoms that have existed since the start of the universe itself, that expanded beyond from the Big Bang. It's profoundly beautiful. Also, the fact that the internet, sorry, not the internet, well, the internet is vast as well, but just the universe itself is so incredibly enormous. Like, we can't even compute how vast it is. You know, the trillions upon trillions of galaxies themselves, which have billions of stars within each one. I think there's like 100 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy alone. 100 billion, and of that, each star has like at least 2 planets circulating around that. And then when you start doing the math and figuring all this kind of stuff out, you start to realize that, like, the probability of having life in other parts of the universe is actually incredibly huge, right? If you use the formula for, like, okay, so each one of these stars has to have what's called the Goldilocks zone, in which the planets are a certain distance from the star where they're not too hot but not too cold, so that they can have the conditions available for life. And those same conditions for life, well, they also have to have a planet that's circulating, that's either been hit by meteors that have some water or ice on them, or perhaps volcanic eruptions and stuff like that, so that eventually the little orb becomes a blue orb covered in water. And because water is so fascinating that it changes its state based on temperature, and when it freezes, it actually forms a solid and expands, forming ice, which allows life to develop underneath it. All of this stuff is just so incredible. Like, the amount of mathematical impossibility and improbability that led to the development of you at this moment in time, right, that just got all the way there, is just so wild and beautiful and incredible. You're interconnected with every other moment of existence, and that is profoundly, incredibly, like, it's more spiritual to me than any story of miracles. Like, and they're so boring. It's like, look at Jesus is turning the water into wine, and he's curing a couple of the lepers, and he's just like, no, do weird shit. Do quantum shit. Get at the quantum level. Just start changing the very states of existence. Stuff like that. I want to see that kind of stuff, you know? It is just statistically impossible. I looked it up for a thing. I'm working on a documentary right now, and I can show all of you a preview, because it relates directly to this speak of evolution and the world and everything around us.
The observable universe, aka what we can see based on the light that had time to reach us, is estimated to be about 93 billion light years in diameter. The Hubble Space Telescope suggested that there are 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. Of those 2 trillion is the Milky Way galaxy, where we call home. And in that galaxy is an estimated 100 billion stars. Each star has roughly 1 to 2 planets orbiting it on average, and of those planets, an estimated 10% would fall under what is called the Goldilocks zone, meaning being the proper distance from their stars to both warm the planet while not cooking it, allowing for the conditions of life. Of those 10%, only 1% fall under the category for which the conditions of life may arise, which starts to sound really lonely, as if we're some kind of miraculous event happening far away in our distant speck. But zoom back out and understand the sheer scale of the observable universe, and suddenly the potential for life on other planets becomes an equation like this: 4 times 10 to the power of 19, aka there are 40 quintillion potential life-hosting blue orbs traveling through space, having adventures and music and orgasms that we'll never know or understand. And our brains have nearly as many neurons as there are stars in our own galaxy. With over 86 billion neurons, the human mind forms complex neural networks and synaptic connections, leading to a total of about 100 trillion synapses. Weirder and more fascinating still is that the brain is made up of 72% of the same stuff that makes up most life on Earth. 2 oxygen atoms bonded with a hydrogen atom. Water. Our little speck of dust, suspended in a sunbeam, once had meteors with ice smash into it, or volcanic eruptions. There's only so much we can predict. And as the planet filled with water that would eventually blend with the minerals in the rocks to form salinity of the ocean, that same salinity that is found inside of our mother's wombs. Water, which changes states based on temperature, expanding when frozen, and whose ice sheets would be necessary for shielding the development of life below before it crawled onto the surface. And every one of those atoms that composes the chemicals that compose the cells that compose all animals on Earth were once forged inside of a furnace of a sun, billions of light years away in a process called nucleosynthesis. We aren't just star children. We're an entire planet of star animals, all making life possible for one another in an interconnected ecosystem on a floating rock covered in water. There's over 20,000 known species just of bees that pollinate 75% of the world's flowers and plants and allow for an entire galaxy of species to roam the surface of the Earth. There are dolphins that sing to each other, bears that hibernate for months on a staycation, penguins that give rock gifts and pick a mate for life. Not to mention, have you ever seen a baby hippo? Seriously, just look at this thing.
Yeah, so life is awesome. I honestly, I don't understand why I just got to be, all this weird, but Bahamut and Satan and all that, I love this, but could you get a shot of you wearing a turtleneck and a Carl Sagan wig? Yes, and then I'll do my worst Carl Sagan impression. The theory of the known universe.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Puppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.